Hi everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we are talking about the Sacral Chakra.
Yes, the sacral. It's not just nana. I'm going to call it the sacral. I don't like saying that. Seriously, that thing is long. But again, this one does have an Indian name, so it's one of the 7 that the Indians use, which is fine. Like I said, we use 10, they use 7, but in some traditions there's hundreds of them, so it doesn't really matter. It just our 10, because we correlate them all with the planets.
Right.
The Sephiroth, the angelic hierarchies, the 10 heavens in the Jewish system, and the chakra, and they all correlate down to the chakras. So, for our system, it just works better.
Right.
With 10, and as far as the aura is concerned, the aura seems to work better with 10 than 7.
Okay.
As far as when you break it down and actually start working the separate colors, or the divided colors, I guess, is a better way of saying it.
Right.
But when you single them out individually, separating brown from red, to me works better than just having red. Because with everything in red, or in the root chakra, it's just too much to try to figure out as it's coming in.
Right.
And it's like, okay, it breaks variance, but it's also a hub, and it's like, how does that work? It really doesn't. You need that division for the foot chakra. And again, you also need the energy of Uranus, and understand what that means as far as the color brown is concerned. Okay, and then otherwise you take brown right out of the picture.
Right.
And that doesn't really work for me. It can, other people do it, so I mean, I guess it can work for them, but for me it doesn't work. Okay, so the sacral chakra. Okay, the location is the abdomen. Okay, endocrine gland, ovaries and testes. Okay, the planet associated with it is Neptune. The Amashpenta is Bethor. The element association is water. The color association is orange. And a lot of people think orange. That seems weird because that would seem like maybe like a fiery, and Neptune's all about water.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
it's not, because generationally it co-rules Pisces and Sagittarius, which is fire. Makes sense for the orange with that. It has more to do with Pisces and Sag, however. But because Sagittarius is included, orange makes perfect sense. Not to mention that there is a division between the planet and the actual chakras that they're associated with. Okay? And we'll get into that in a second when we talk about, again, orange. It symbolizes youthfulness, positivity, enthusiasm, right? Warmth, creativity, determination, encouragement, and freedom. A lot of that has nothing to do with Neptune. Okay, but again, we're talking about the differences between Neptune and the sacral chakra. Neptune as a planet is completely different than the sacral chakra itself. Even though they correlate with each other and they work with each other, they are completely different objects. And the only reason I bring that up is because a lot of people have a tendency when they find out that they're correlated to try to meld them together, and it doesn't work that way. They just happen to work together.
Okay.
The energies aren't melded together, they just happen to work together in different ways. Okay? So, when we talk about these, creativity, okay, spontaneity, that's not really a water issue either. And it's a water. It is a water chakra. Okay. Adventure, same thing. Good health. Now that works with water. Healing energy. Okay. And even vitality can. But again, that can have a lot of associations with Sagittarius. So in this instance, with this chakra seems to have a lot more as far as color goes, dealing with Sagittarius than Pisces, which is interesting. Until we get into like the endocrine glands. Because then we're talking about water, complete water. Because you're talking about the ovaries, you're talking about the testes, all waters, all fluid-like, all encased in water.
Right.
Okay, all about emotion, all about sensuality, all the things that you associate with the sacral chakra. So that's where Pisces is going to come flowing back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
So it gives you a nice little division there. Okay, let's go to the physical functions. The physical functions: taste and tongue. Okay, so as far as the senses go.
Interesting.
Yep. Your tongue, your taste buds.
Okay.
Okay. The sexual organs, activity, upper intestines, abdominal area, okay, and the sacral plexus, as far as the nerve plexuses go. That's what we're looking at, as far as the sacral is concerned. Now, the sacral is interesting. It's one of the chakras that most people have issues with, the sacral chakra. It's where a lot of people's trauma is hidden, is within their sacral, and that's what they need to let out. A lot of that has to do with the 12th house, being a spiritual house, but it's also over illness, it's over insanity.
Okay.
But
okay.
A lot of dark energy is associated with sexual trauma in people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the creepy aunt or uncle, or your siblings or whatever as you're growing up. Weird things happen in different homes. I mean, that's just the way it works. And even not as far as what you're open to, especially nowadays because of the internet. Okay? You've got little kids that are being introduced to subjects that they shouldn't be. They're not ready for, emotionally or psychologically. But it's out there, and they're getting it thrown at them. And a lot of adults, and I think this has to do a lot with the 60s, because the 60s was very liberating, but at the same time, that liberation turned into just sexual deviancy at times. Because you had adults walking around children completely naked, nude, no big deal, none of this, none of that. And for some people, it wasn't a big deal. But for all of those people that were at the hippie gatherings and stuff, they were not all above board with what they were thinking or what they were doing.
Right.
You know, and when you have that open, it's not the right environment to raise kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because there is a time and a place for that, but it's not when you're 6 or 7 years old. I don't think it's when you're 8 or 9 years old. I don't think it's when you're 10 or 11 or 12. As you hit puberty, I don't think that's the time either. You have to have gone through it a little bit beforehand. Otherwise, you don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what this is about. You don't know what that is about. And we all go through all of that weird stuff. And again, I think that's one of the tie-ins to the sacral chakra being a trauma center for a lot of people, is because as you're growing and the people around you are growing at the same time, you can do some really weird things that can cause issues for you later that you have to deal with.
Right.
Okay? And a lot of that has nothing to do with anybody being deviant or wicked or anything like that. It's kids being kids and being ignorant of what anything is about. And especially now, again, with everything that's on the internet, you see it and you're like, oh, I guess that's fun. That's an adult thing to do. Let's try that. And it's like, that was probably the worst thing you could possibly introduce to a child. Okay? And again, all of these adult subjects are now being shoved right into their faces as if they're adults, and they're not. Children are not adults. You can't raise them as adults.
Right.
I've watched children who were in that situation, and they can come off as very mature, but they're not. Because at the same time, you can just, you know how I do, play around with sentences. There was a kid that I knew that was raised in that environment, unbelievably smart. Okay? Intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
However, if he used a word and I turned that word around a little bit, it broke him. To the point where he just freaked out.
Oh, wow.
He couldn't even get the joke or understand what I was doing. Okay? But because he thought he was intellectually superior to everyone, he used to walk around with that attitude too. And that cost him a lot of friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And things of that nature. For some reason, the people who did that also stopped doing a lot of discipline too. So I watched the same type of children were the ones that were having problems in school. One was attacking teachers physically attacking teachers and things of that nature. And it's like, you can't do that. You can't allow your kids to, freedom is one thing, but that's too much freedom. Mm-hmm. But again, freedom with the sacral chakra that we just talked about a minute ago. Okay. There still has to be discipline involved.
Right.
With it. You can't just leave it completely open. You just can't do it. But anyway, okay, the sexual activity and the sexual organs and all of that. There's so, like I said, there's so much out there that you have to be really careful with your children nowadays, because you can put every filter you want on a computer and it's not going to filter everything out.
Right.
And that's mainly because, for some reason, corporations have jumped on the bandwagon of this stuff is okay. A lot of it is for kids, so they don't filter it out like they're supposed to. Mm. Okay, that's just for you parents out there. You want to be careful, because the sacral chakra, even before the internet, was where a lot of trauma was initiated, and that's the one that's got to be cleansed constantly out of all the chakras for the most part, especially when you're a kid, and worked on and dealt with, and bringing that up. Okay, because there's a fine line between surrender and victimization, and the sacral's over both, unfortunately. Okay, psychological functions governs the emotional health and creativity. So again, now we've got it over the emotional health of people. Okay, so all of your emotional trauma is trapped in there at the same time, and it's not just in a sexual manner now. Now it's all emotional trauma is kind of compacted into the sacral chakra, and that can be from anything.
Right.
Most of the time, I have not met anyone who doesn't have any emotional trauma from something. It's part of life. It's part of survival.
Right.
You get it. I would say that more than half the time, it's unintentional. A lot of it comes from one or both parents accidentally trying to do the right thing, or going overboard somehow, and causing things. And other times, it was nothing really bad. It was the way somebody took something. Mm-hmm. And internalized it emotionally, and it got warped as they did it, and it comes out later and it's like, I didn't even say that. Or no, actually I didn't even do that. What are you talking about? That's not what happened. This is what happened. And it got skewed in the memory, and that happens a lot. You can skew a lot of stuff in your memory. I didn't used to think that, but I've gone back through things with people and found out, wow, really? That's not actually what happened? It was this? I'm like, wow, that's insane. How did I switch it like that? Well, a lot of that again is survival. Mm-hmm. We switched it up because of an emotional trauma that we had. Okay, so that's the psychological. Spiritual functions, it's over emotions, it's over feelings, it's over empathy and empathic gifts and psychic ability. Okay. So again, when that's opening up, and you're opening yourself up empathically, okay, and I shouldn't even say opening up, because you do it when you're a kid. You can tell when your parents are upset, because you'll start crying too, or a baby will start crying when their parents are upset, that you can feel the whole thing. But it's processing all of it, bringing it in and processing it, and then trying to figure out what's theirs, what's yours. The kid's crying because the parents are upset, but the kid feels upset because the parents are upset. They can't make that distinction yet. Mm-hmm. Okay, people with a lot of water energy in their charts in certain areas and going through certain planets, same thing.
Okay.
That's why you've got a lot of empaths out there, the ones that are deeply psychic, that have so many issues and so much trauma. Because growing up, they couldn't tell the difference between what they were feeling and what everybody else around them was feeling. How horrible would that be?
Wow.
A lot of them end up in institutions because they come off as manic. Mm-hmm. You go to, let's say, the mall. You're just walking around and there's all these people here. And empathically, you're just booming. Boom, 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 boom. This person's happy. This person's sad. This person's angry. This person's not. You get all of that. And you have to figure out, well, what do I actually feel and what are these people feeling? That's where I talk about the difference between empathy and sympathy. And having to turn and do a detachment there.
Right, right.
Okay? Because sympathy is an emotion, however, it's ruled by intellect and reason. It shuts off because it's about processing. And that's what it does to empathy. It skews it, it changes how empathy works. Instead of absorbing all that anymore, you turn off the absorption and then you start to process it. And you can be sympathetic to what they felt to figure out, okay, what do I do now? Instead of just continually absorbing everything that's coming out. Okay, this person's angry. I need to move away from them. Okay, or not talk to them. This person's sad. Do I need to nurture that? Try to help them out of it? Or again, do I ignore that? This person's happy. Do I want to enjoy that? Or are they too happy and then I just need to walk away? It's
right,
all
right.
of that. And you have to be able to do that. But people that have too much water in their chart, I shouldn't say too much, but a lot of water in their chart, can't do that. They haven't learned the skills. And it's just a skill set you need in order to do it. It's just difficult in the beginning to do it. But everything is difficult in the beginning when you're talking about skills.
Right, right.
Okay. And even as you get older and more experienced and better at it, you should be wise about it.
There's times that
it doesn't, you'll stop doing the skills because you think you already have them.
Right.
And I bring in Shaq. I like bringing in Shaq. Bring in Shaq because there was a time where he was missing more than 50% of his free throws. He wasn't practicing them.
Okay.
Okay? And him being Shaq didn't think he had to until his coach went, you're benched until you get out here and start doing free throws at practice. And you don't stop until you hit 100 in a row.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, sometimes we need that coach.
Yeah. But after that, he started hitting his free throws. It's the same reason why other ones that weren't as athletic or large as some of the other ones that have an advantage, that's all they worked. And I'm going to bring up Larry Bird.
Yeah.
All of his teammates talked about he was the first one there. He was running. He was shooting free throws. He was doing layups, both-handed. He was shooting free throws, both-handed. He was doing three-point shots, both-handed. He was doing quick turnarounds and releasing shots. And that's why. It was to keep the skill set up. Because he wasn't born unbelievably athletic like a Michael Jordan. Where he could just go out and do what he did.
Right.
He had to work at it. And the working at it was working those fundamental exercises to keep him on the top of his game. Okay. And again, even Magic Johnson said, the only reason that he would go out and shoot 500 three-pointers was because he knew Larry was going to do 600. Right? So he's like, I'm doing at least 500 of these. And that kept him up and, made them both better players.
Right, yeah.
And at the same time, it helped them define the league. Because the league before then was going nowhere. They were showing reruns instead of showing games.
Oh, wow.
It was not popular. Those guys reinvigorated. It's kind of like what that girl, Caitlin Clark, is doing with the WNBA right now.
Yeah.
And I don't just want to say Caitlin Clark. She's the more popular, but I think there's Angel Reese that's really good too.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are.
And I think those two are
they've breathed new life into that particular league. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the media is trying to put them against each other, kind of like they did Bird and Magic, but it's not really. I don't think it's really working because the two of them seem to get along pretty well. So anyway, getting off that. So the spiritual functions, okay, and again we call them empathic gifts. But if you talk to a lot of people that were born with these empathic gifts already open without having to work at it, a lot of them don't see them as gifts. They see them as a detriment. And you can understand why.
Right.
Because, what are they, schizophrenic? If they're unbelievably psychic, they're hearing voices. When they go, the medical community will lock these people up. And that can be a real problem. So, I just wanted to hit on that. Because people who get into this, the metaphysics, want that. And a lot of the people that have that don't. Until they find the spiritual community and then go, oh, this is where you use it.
Right, right.
But nobody teaches them that when you're young. And it can be a big problem. So if you do have children, or if you're around children that exude these things, before you take them in and you put them on medication, figure out whether they're actually hearing voices or whether they're just empathically gifted, for the most part. It can save you and them a lot of trauma.
Right.
In later years. Okay, the endocrine glands that we're talking about. Ovaries, testes, right? Okay, so let's talk about the ovaries first in the females. Since this is feminine energy, we're talking about water. Pisces, psychic. Even though Sag is fire, Sacral is more in tune with the feminine side. Okay, they're oval-shaped, reproductive organs. They produce the female sex hormone estrogen and progesterone, which are responsible for the female characteristics of the body. Okay, so physical gender, and we talked about hermetics. Okay, this is what we're talking about. There is physical gender. It's physical gender. There's male and female in physical gender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mental gender is different. Okay, it's still gender. It's just a complete different division.
Right.
But it is not physical characteristics in mental gender. When we're talking about these particular endocrine glands, we're talking about physical differences now. Okay, this is when puberty hits, and boys grow at a rate, and we've talked about this because you did when you were younger.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, where you can actually, your bones hurt because they're growing so fast.
Right.
Your body aches. A lot of boys' bodies ache because they grow so quickly, and it hurts because you can feel it happening.
Right.
Right. And you're starting to produce all of this testosterone and going. And women start producing more estrogen, okay? And then their reproductive cycle starts to kick in, okay? And then all these hormones get released. And it's not like the male hormones don't get released. In boys, they do. But it doesn't have the same effect as the girls do.
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah.
Anybody with daughters know this. And, anybody that knows women knows this.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
You're around women, and you're a guy, up until menopause, one time a month you go away. You're in a different room. You're just not, you're not ignoring, but you're not engaging. Okay? And that's what happens. All of these new things start hitting the females, and when that happens, it's almost like they go insane for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
When my daughter was younger, a lot of people in her age group were put on medication. Not all of them, but some of them were. There's quite a few of them to try to cope with that. And the problem was that a lot of it was just blocking things.
Oh, man.
So they didn't actually get to go through the process of experiencing it and becoming wise about it. The issue with that is there comes a time as they grow up where they want to get off the meds.
Right.
And when they do them, it's like all of it comes and hits them like a brick wall. Wham! All at once. And that causes medical problems. Migraines, sickness. Your body can't deal with all of this stuff coming on. And a lot of them don't go and say, okay, they don't consult the doctor and say, I want to wean myself off. They cold turkey it. And when they cold turkey it, it's just a big slam.
Wow.
And then it's like, what do we have to do? Metaphysically, what do you have to do? You have to go in, you have to work energy, you have to work chakras, you have to get this stuff regulated. And get it back, trying to get it back under control because it's all out of balance. And instead of having the years for the body and the mind and the spirit to do it itself, now it's going to take the help of someone else to go in and balance these things out. Okay? And try to get them stable. And so that they can move on, get over their illnesses, and get back to a good playing field.
Right. Wow.
So it's just, and I bring that up just again, cautionary. Be careful if you're doing this to yourself, or if you have daughters, don't do this to them. They have to go through this. Don't just let schools or counselors say your daughter needs to be on drugs. Especially school counselors. I really don't like that because they're not doctors. Mm-hmm. And they have no business telling anybody anything like that. You know. But anyway, I don't want to get on that. Okay. The ovaries also produce a small amounts of testosterone because they still have to have it in their bodies, just not as much as males.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to go to the testes now for men. Testes are two egg-shaped male reproductive organs. They produce the hormone testosterone, responsible for the male characteristics of the body. Again, bone density, muscle mass. Okay. The fact that our lungs expand and get bigger, we can hold more air.
Right.
Okay. That's again physical gender. Mm-hmm. It's just what happens during puberty for men. Okay. Testosterone is needed for the production of sperm. Okay. For reproduction. Okay. And again, men also produce a small amount of progesterone and estrogen. Okay. Just not in the same amounts that women do. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, one thing I want to get this out there. Soy is full of estrogen. If you have growing boys, do not give them soy anything. If you have girls, you're flooding them with estrogen. If you're giving them silk, because silk is actually soybean milk,
right,
with vanilla flavoring.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. Okay, not saying that soy is bad. I'm just saying it needs to be regulated. You need to regulate how much they're getting into it. Okay. Now let's get into Neptune here. We're going to get into Neptune. All right, sorry. Okay. And again, Neptune generally rules Pisces and Sagittarius. It's a generational planet. It moves super slow. So by the time it moves through a sign, it affects an entire generation instead of somebody's personal chart. The inner planets are personal rulers. That's how the same signs can be actually ruled by two different planets, because Jupiter is the other planet that rules Sagittarius and Pisces. It has more to do with Sagittarius than Pisces. However, it still co-rules Pisces. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Okay? Now Neptune is all about transcendence. Okay? It's a spiritual planet. It's chaos. Okay. Where Saturn is order, Neptune is chaos.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay. Can there be order to chaos? Yes, there can. Or else it would be ordered. Okay. So there is some order to chaos. It's just it's hard to figure it out. Where it starts, where it stops, all of that good stuff. Okay. It doesn't like rules. It loves fantasy. It loves escapism. Your dream realm is all about Neptune. Okay. Neptune controls all that.
Okay.
Okay. So, it's spiritual sensitivity flavored through spiritual expression. Okay? So it's feeling and expressing. That's what you want with this. That's what you want with it. Okay? What else can it be? Well, with the escapism in it and the tie-in it has with Jupiter, it can also be very prone to addiction.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay?
Okay, I can see that.
Whether you're addicted to a substance or whether you're addicted to a program or whether you're addicted to anything.
Yeah. Which
could be a person. Codependence, any of that stuff. Because the Jupiter aspect of it wants to expand it all. Mm-hmm. And take it there. The Neptune aspect wants to escape. And that's why addiction is such a problem with these two planets. Especially if they're working together. In that way.
Okay.
Spiritually, it's awesome. Because you've got all this empathic abilities coming in and you're expressing it in a spiritual manner and you're like, yes. Okay? Pisces is like, yeah, I'm perceiving all of this stuff coming in, right? And then Sagittarius is like, well, let's actuate it. Okay. What you're perceiving, I want to actualize. Let's actualize this and see what happens.
Okay.
Okay. So working together in that cycle is great. It's the other cycles, or cycle, that sucks so bad when it comes to this. Okay. But Neptune is great though, because again, it's transcendence. It's taking everything down. That's what Neptune wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. It controls the mystic and the psychic, essentially. That's what Neptune does.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Pluto also controls the mystic. Okay. Neptune is more spiritually focused. But there's a lot of mysticism involved because it is the fantasy and the fantastic realm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. And chaos transcends all rational thought. That's the problem with chaos. But it allows true trust and faith. It provides the waves that empathy surfs, essentially. Okay.
Okay.
It rules the imagination, dreams, mediumship, prophecy, dissolves barriers, keeping one safe. Because again, too many barriers, and you're trapped.
Mm-hmm.
There are times you need to break through barriers.
Right.
Okay, and push through them and go, hey, here we go. Neptune allows you to do that. So what's going to push through the barrier? Well, it's probably not going to be Pisces at that point. It's going to be Sag. It's going to be fire. It's going to penetrate it, right?
Right.
And push you through it. Okay, not the same way that Aries or Leo would do, but Sag is going to do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, keywords for Pisces: mystery, vision, dissolution, compassion, fantasy, psychic, transcendence, spiritual wisdom, and magic. Okay. The magic realm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Magical energy, because you need fantasy in order to understand magic. Because it is a part of science, but it's not a part of science. It's one of those yes but no things that we've gotten into in the past.
Yes.
Okay. Negatives: confusion, victimization, delusion, fearful, chaotic, escapism, psychosis, and insanity. Too much Pisces energy can make you go nuts. Because again, if you can't understand where you stop and something else begins, there's nothing rational about what you do. Because it's half of it, part of it's not you.
Right.
It's somebody else or something else. And you can't tell the difference. If you're caught up in escapism, because you're in a victimization mode, and that's a lot of the times where we go to when we need escape, you can become addicted to alcohol, drugs, internet, porn, whatever, everything that's out there that allows you to just go, oh, if I do this, I don't have to think about reality. Bam. That's when Neptune will be like, oh, that's me. Come on in. We'll take you. And we'll give you that ability to escape. And the problem is that it doesn't know when to stop. And because of that, again, that Jupiter expansion connection, Jupiter's going to keep you in there. And a lot of the times, if you're escaping from something you're afraid of, Neptune encourages the fearfulness and keeps you in there.
Oh.
To not come out of it.
Feeds the fear.
Yeah. It just feeds it. Okay?
Oh.
Okay. The sign it resides in determines how one transcends through dimensional realities and back. Okay? Again, it can also be the one that scares the living, out of you. Especially people who do like astral projection are like, I lost my cord. Okay? Pisces is getting a little too crazy. But again, like I've said before, it's as hard to lose your astral cord as it is to lose your shadow. But if you go into a room that has no light, you can't see your shadow.
Right.
Okay? And that's where a lot of people who say, oh, I lost my astral cord. You didn't lose your astral cord. You just got into a point where you can't tell it from anything else. But you should still be able to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
If you focus hard enough, you should be able to feel your cord coming back. Okay. All right. The house it dwells within is where one experiences compassion and sympathy felt for others. It's where we drift into our day and night dreams. We come to terms with our faith and fears here. This is where our psychic nature thrives. Okay? That's the house it's in.
Okay.
That's where this is going to play out more so than other places. It's not that you'll never have it in any other area of your life. This is just the one that it likes. Okay?
Okay.
Again, so going back over it. Neptune is about transcending, escape. Okay, it's to dissolve. It's your imagination, fantasy, visualization. Again, that's Neptune, where you go to visualize. How strong is your Neptune? What sign is your Neptune in? Understanding what sign it's in is going to get you to understand how it focuses it for you, as opposed to other people that you know who may not have the same issues that you do with visualization. With practice, you're still going to be able to visualize.
Yeah.
But your sign's going to determine how that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what your visualization is going to be powered by, so to speak.
Okay.
Neptune's how it's going to be focused. It's going to be focused through visualization. Well, okay, so let's say it's in Leo. What does that mean? Well, creative expression. You have to express your visualization in your mind. It has to express. It has to be building something. It has to be demonstrating something. Okay. Let's say it's Aries. Okay. It's going to be about presentation, motivation, right?
Right, right.
That's what Aries is all about. Drive. Boom, boom, boom. So for somebody who's got Aries in Neptune, they're going to have the drive to visualize like that, probably. Boom. Not a problem. Problem being, if it's a lead meditation, they're going to go off on their own and leave the lead meditation behind most of the time because, hey, I got this. And go. Okay. Let's say it's a water. You have a water sign. It's going to be more about, when you visualize, it's going to be more about, it's going to be more emotional. You're going to feel it. Okay? So instead of, not to mention that with, like we said, Leo or Aries, it's going to be really visual. I mean, big time. It's going to be, you're going to, just colors and popping and all that. If you have a water sign in there, you're going to feel it. So your other senses are going to be, because when you visualize, it's not just seeing. We talked about that before.
Right, right.
You are actually, all of your senses
Are engaged.
Are kicking. You're creating smells, you're creating sounds, you're creating tastes. And what do we talk about with this particular?
It's the tongue, yeah.
Yep. Well, taste buds.
Yeah.
It's about taste. You're going to taste things. Okay. That's how you're going to come through. So when you visualize, it's not that you're not going to see colors. You're going to see colors, but you're going to taste them first, and that's how you're going to understand them and divide them.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
It's like looking at a cookbook and then opening a pot and smelling it or putting a spoon in and tasting it and going, this is so good. Right? As opposed to somebody who looks at it and goes, wow, that looks really great.
Right.
I want that. You smell that and you go, oh, I want that. Visualization works the same way. That's the difference between those two. Okay? So, again, it's water. Okay? So it's about absorption, empathy. It's your soul. It's feelings. It's emotional. Okay? It's also liquid.
Okay.
Okay? It's saturating.
And it flows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very fluid.
And again, back to visualization. Your visualization, when you get in there, it's gonna saturate. The energy is just gonna saturate. all through you. And that's how it's going to feel when you do it, which is kind of cool. Right?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's how matter is absorbed and felt by matter. All forms of matter. Not just people, not just animals, everything.
Right.
Okay? What else is? Grossness without overstepping its bounds. I always love that one from Plato. People look at me like, what does that even mean? Right? And it's like, well, density. And they're like, oh, got that. Right? And density is mass and volume. Right?
Right.
Mass and volume. It's not weight, because weight's determined by...
Gravity.
Yeah. But mass and volume is not.
Right.
Okay. So, it's also cold and moist. Okay? Keywords. Positive keywords for water. Calm, placid, resourceful, protective, secretive. Okay? It's about emotional and spiritual security. It's compassionate, sensitive, it's about the subconscious. It's empathic, it's spiritual, it's responsive, it's reflective, blah, blah, blah. Okay? All the things we know about water. Okay? And that's your sacral. And that's why there's so much trauma associated with it, because all of that is emotional for the most part. All of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay? Especially when you get into the negatives. So compulsion, obsession, fearful, moody, petulant, cruel, mad, manipulation, depression. It's submissive. It's maniacal. So it can be malice. Okay? It's seductive. It's smothering. It's hypnotic. Okay? All of those, most of those that we just went over are things that you lock into your sacral.
Wow.
And don't let go of.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Okay. Now the next thing for the sacral chakra. Okay. It is emotionally sensitive to the piety. And most people have no idea what that word means. Okay? Piety, the quality of being spiritual or reverent. Okay? Okay. Of the frequency the aura is interacting with. So as far as the aura is concerned, this is what the color orange picks up. This is what the sacral energy, when it comes into contact, this is what it absorbs from whatever has broken the auric field. Okay? It's picking up the quality of being spiritual of whatever broke the field. Okay? Is it graceful? Is it evil? Okay. Now, how black and white is that? If you're dealing with a celestial like an angel, sure, that works. If you're dealing with a person, it's going to be a blend of all of it, right?
Ooh, yeah.
But you're going to be able to start picking up
different things. Yeah.
Well, percentages.
Right.
How bad and in what way
Mm-hmm.
is this? The empathic nature. Oh my goodness, right? What is happening as far as this goes? Because it's all spiritual.
Right.
Okay? And what is it doing? Is it trying to absorb my energy? That's another thing it's going to pick up on that. So,
Okay.
for lack of a better
Okay.
phrase, spiritual vampire stuff. Okay? Psychic vampires.
Okay. So this is
the ones that suck off your energy and feed off your energy. However, if someone crosses your field and has dark or demonic connections, it's going to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to pick up the tentacles that flow from it to try to feed off everything around it. It's going to pick up on that. And then it's going to want to leave, right?
Right, right.
Or you're going to want to leave, get out of the area. It's time to go.
Right.
Okay.
That's
Or Sag is going to pop up and be like, let's burn. Let's burn these tentacles. Let's just burn them to the ground. You know?
Mm. That's interesting. Okay. So that's really what popped a couple of weeks ago for me then.
Yeah.
When I had those encounters.
Yeah, when you had that encounter. Yep. Or the two encounters that you had. Yes. Okay. So, and we're talking about the frequency that the aura is interacting with. Okay. So something broke the field. And it's going to pick up on the emotional chaos of whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay. So again, it's the sacral chakra that picks up the psychic energy.
Okay.
So that's what you're working. You're doing mediumship and readings. You're using your sacral chakra. That's what you're tuning into. Hello. that's really what you're trying to isolate, is what's coming into your sake.
That also explains a lot, yeah.
And then taking that energy and shoving it into your Saturn hub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Or your root chakra.
Right.
And then shoving that up to your throat chakra. But if you focus on the sacral coming in, you're going to get more psychic energy that's going through the process first.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back, disseminating it out. And that's when you're going to be like, oh, you know, so-and-so's around you, or this is happening, or that's happening, or blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, yeah, you got a big smile on your face, but you're depressed as hell. What's going on? You know, all that good stuff. Okay?
Right.
And again, the color for that aura is orange. It's the orange band. And it's the third band surrounding you before
the field expands out.
Yeah. It's the third one.
Okay.
Now, what's the issue that we need to talk about with the sacral chakra, the big one? Because we always do on each chakra. We have we have the this versus that, and this is surrender versus victimization.
Right.
Okay? Surrender is not victimization. Okay? Anybody who's been through a 12-step program will tell you that, because the first thing you have to do in a 12-step program is surrender. Whatever your addiction is, you have to surrender it, because it's too much for you to deal with. You can't just say stop. You have to go, I have to turn this over to a higher power because this is too much for me to try to deal with. I gotta let it go.
Right.
Okay. Same thing with resentments and things of that nature. I gotta let this go. Because a lot of times that's your causality. You're holding on to something. And it's eating you away to the point where you need to escape, so boom. You know, for alcoholics, they pick up and that's not enough. You got to get to the point where you obliterate everything coming in, and then you don't have to think about it anymore, and then you're passed out on the floor. Everybody's like, oh, look, he's asleep. It's like, no, he's not. He's in some sort of a weird comatose state that's not sleep.
Right. Yeah.
You have liquefied your neurons, and they just ain't working to keep you conscious. That's where you're at. But anyway, so that type of surrender is not a negative. It's a positive. Surrendering your ego. I can't do this on my own. I need help. That's the surrender you're talking about. Victimization is when you let somebody come in and treat you like a victim. Okay? That kind of surrender and submission is bad. All submission is not bad.
Right.
It's a humility in a lot of forms. Spiritual submission is humility. Okay? And even when you're in a partnership with somebody, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's a intimate partnership, it doesn't matter. Each will submit to some part of the other to make it work. You have to. Otherwise, you're just going to bam, 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 bam.
Right.
You know, one does this, one does that, one, you know. And again, that gets back into mental gender, but roles are taken on. Okay? Some of those roles are, in fact, dictated by physical gender. Okay? Not so much today, because the societies that we live in are different. We've created things to even a lot of that stuff out. You go back in time, it wasn't so much like that, you know. Guys were physically stronger, physically bigger, had more muscle mass, so they went out and hunted things, or protected everybody else from things, because they had the mass to be better at it than somebody else.
Right.
Not meaning that females can't do that, because if you've ever watched a female grizzly bear when someone messes with their cubs, or really anything, deer, moose, whatever,
right?
You know, even the males are like, nah, not going there. Time to get away, you know.
Oh, that's the mama.
Right. But without that, you know, because most of that is that's their emotions just going insane. And when their emotions go insane, again, we talked about the fact that they don't just produce estrogen.
Right.
They'll start pumping testosterone and adrenaline, and look out, Because now you've got something that's not used to that energy, number one, and it's just going all out. It would be like it would be like when Wolverine, the X-Man, gets upset, right? And just boom, and it doesn't matter if you're their friend, you better get out of the way,
right?
Because they're going to rip right through you. But it's that.
Well, I mean, it's those stories that you hear, where a child ends up trapped under a flipped car or something.
Yes.
And
their mother can pick the car up. Yeah.
Pick the car up off of.
Right.
Yeah.
Or but usually they throw it or something. I mean, it's
right.
like, oh my.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, that's not even possible. And the difference between a male in that same situation is that a large male will walk over and grab it and pick the car up.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, somebody pull the kid out, please. This is heavy. And sets it down and is like, wow, I probably couldn't do that again unless I had to.
Right.
Where the female's like, what just happened? And everybody's like, you just threw a car. Even the guys around are like, you just threw a car. What?
Right, yeah.
How'd you do that? He's like, I don't know. And he asked the guy, he goes, I just stooped down and, bent my legs and picked the car up and put it back down. Difference being, the males are used to that energy, the women aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or if somebody's having just a horrible emotional day, like your daughter, okay, and they come home, and you're a father, and you're like, how was your day? Fine. And you can tell, no, it's not. Well, you want to talk? No, I don't want to talk. Right? And then they'll go up to their mom, and I'll say, and you're like, what just happened? I just asked her how you did. You don't understand, you're a guy, right? It's, because it's like, yeah, you don't need to fix this.
Right.
I just need to blurt this out. I don't need your help fixing it, and a guy will try to fix it.
Right.
You're like, well, there's a problem. Obviously, there's a way to fix this. So you tell me the problem, and I'll tell you how to fix it. It's like, I don't want to fix. I need to vent.
Right.
This isn't a fixing problem. This is a venting problem. I just got too much of this in here. I need to blow. And you're trying to fix it. Makes it worse. Because there's no fix for half this stuff.
Right.
And they just need to get it out. With somebody who's just like, yeah, I understand, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then and so a female works. Where a male doesn't.
Right.
Same thing with a boy when they come home. A lot of times, they're not talking to their mom about certain things. They go to their dad.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm having a problem with the guy at school. Oh, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. What do I do? Do I fight him? Do I confront him? Blah, blah. And Dad's like, yeah, sure. Okay, let's go out in the garage. Here's the boxing gloves. Here's a bag. This is how you punch.
This is how you throw a punch.
Yeah, this is how you throw a punch. Right? This is how you can take a slap, and then, usually your dad don't slap him. Got to get used to this. Not super hard.
Right.
To the point where it's not, the shock is gone.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody cracks you in the nose, the first thing you do is wipe your eyes. Wipe your eyes and swing back. Because you're going to be blinded for a second. And it's going to hurt. And you're going to want to give up. Okay? And the first thing Dad's going to tell you is pretty much let that testosterone go a little bit and get mad. That's what you have to do. You have to get angry.
Right.
Where Mom's going to say, don't get mad. Try to talk your way. No, that's like, no, don't try to talk your way out of this.
Just talk it out. Just talk it out.
Right. But again, it's the same thing. And it's not like girls don't fight, girls fight. I've seen girls fight. They throw down. They fight dirty.
It's probably the dirtiest fighting I've ever seen.
Yes, but it's just different.
Right.
Usually they fight different than guys fight.
Mm.
And yes, they're mad and there's rage, but it's not that overwhelming.
It's not the third round UFC fight that teenage gets into.
Yeah. It's not the fight where you're like, I'm gonna kill. I need to kill this person. It's usually like, no. Okay. It's not where guys go. Because half the time guys don't remember the fight.
Oh no.
You get done and you're like, oh, it's over? For what?
Or you can get into the fight and be best friends,
Right, afterwards. It's like, yeah, because the guys are like, hey, yeah, that was a good punch, man. And all of a sudden you're sitting down, yeah. Hey,
dude, I guess I really deserved that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Damn.
It was a good fight, man. You did good. All right. That's cool. But anyway, surrender versus victimization. Okay. You can surrender without being a victim.
Right.
You can submit without being a victim. You just have to understand the line between them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Neptune understands the line. The problem is it's hard to understand Neptune because it's chaos. Okay. And when it goes too far.
Right.
That's when you know something needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, especially nowadays, the word submission has been completely destroyed. Everything about it is negative now. Submit? No, you can't submit to anything. You got to, and it's like, no, you can't do that either. Well, you can't be a victim. You don't have to be a victim. If somebody's physically beating you, yes, that's victimization. That is not submission. Submission is more about cooperation.
Right.
Right? Victimization is dominance.
Mm-hmm.
I need dominance and control over everything. No, you don't. And I'm going to prove it. And it's usually violent.
Right.
Submission, in a good way, is not about violence. There's nothing violent about it. But anyway, so that's the sacral. The sacral can be very hard to deal with. It can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure. But I guess that maybe that's it. Because that is Neptune.
Right.
You're not sure about anything. Okay, but it's the ability to fantasize. And visualization, a lot of it is fantasizing. Manifestation is fantasizing. You have to be able to fantasize what it is you want to manifest. And again, that's Neptune's part in it. It's what allows you to do that.
Okay.
You can't manifest something if you can't see what it is and where it is and how to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Neptune can help you do. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Neptune being also a key to the dream realm, lucid dreaming has a lot to do with Neptune because you're in Neptune. The problem is you have to become consciously aware of being in Neptune. And most people are like, well, how do I do that?
Wow.
If you can fly, you're in Neptune. If you can make yourself leave the ground and fly up in the air, you're probably in Neptune.
Okay.
And dreaming. So it's not letting the chaos take control and make you think that it's okay and that it's reasonable. It's being able to pull back and say, this isn't reasonable. There's no possible way I could do this unless I was dreaming. And that's when you'll wake up in your dream and go, oh, that's because I am dreaming. Now, what's happening? And where do I want it to go, so to speak, without waking yourself up.
Okay.
Because that's the next part that's problematic in lucid dreaming, is not waking yourself up. It's keeping yourself in the dream state but being conscious that you're there.
Huh.
That's the control issue of lucid dreaming.
Okay. I would find, I can see that would be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're flying and you're like, I'm flying, oh, man, I'm dreaming, and all of a sudden you wake up, and you're like, that was such a cool dream, why did I wake up? It's like, because you woke yourself up because you said it's not real. You can still say, I'm dreaming, but it's real. It's still real, I'm just in the dream state. Now what do I do with it? And go with it. You just have to figure out ways of telling yourself you're in that state, which is a whole different...
That'd be a whole different...
it's a whole different discussion. Okay, but anyway, that's your sacral. That's essentially a foundation of how it works. I mean, we're not going to get into everything, but that is a foundation of how it works. Those are the big things you need to think about when you're doing it. Okay, and as far as your auric field is concerned, that is the empathic nature of the auric field. The big empathic nature is coming through the sacral.
Okay.
All
right.
Feelings and emotions are going to come through the brow.
Mm-hmm.
And indigo Okay, but all you're going to get is the feeling out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the absorption.
Right.
Okay, and you're not going to get that piety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, of spiritually where they're at and what's going on with them. That's not coming until your sacral gets. Which is why your sacral is going to hit first.
Mm-hmm.
And go, okay, do I even need to work with this, or do I need to get the hell out of the way?
Right. Right.
Right? Or do I need to call Ghostbusters? What do I need to do with this? You know? Okay. I just walked into a haunted house. Let's leave. Well, your brow's going to be like, well, yes, but is it a good ghost? Or is it, no, we're leaving the house, is what Pisces is going to be like. Yeah, we're leaving the house right now. And then we're going to figure out whether we go back in. But we're not going to stand here and try to figure out what's here. Once we've determined something's here.
Right.
Now it's time to go back off.
Well, that's,
what is it?
Yeah.
And then come back in.
Going back to, my encounters a few weeks ago.
Right.
All right, yep, let's go banish the house, put an energy grid up, and...
Yeah. Exactly. Right. And then figure out what it was.
Right.
Yes, exactly. All right. But I think that's enough for the sacral at this point.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we do look forward to seeing you next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.